Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello there, it's Gemma, and this is episode 273, gasp, of the new series of the Cognitive podcast. I realized that we're approaching our 500th episode between this and the old series. Kind of weirds me out. This episode is called Sisters because it seems like I've got a million of them. Some of them are actually related to me by blood. And I just have had a week of them. And it's a wonderful thing. And in some ways, a challenging thing. So you can see my rosemary bush in the show notes. The show notes, of course, are at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com. And you can see my rosemary because it's blooming. And the thing is huge. I planted it several years ago thinking it would do okay, but it was probably too exposed. Au contraire, monsieur, that rosemary loves being where it is. And it's turning itself slowly into a tree, and it's wonderful. Now, of course, all you Shakespeare fans know from Hamlet, here's rosemary, that's for remembrance. And maybe that's why I'm thinking about all the sisters this week, who knows. But there is my incredibly happy rosemary bush blooming out in the front yard. If I could find that person who sold it to me, I would buy 20 more of them. I really regret not buying everyone she had because those things are so happy here. They're the one plant that really loves it here. Well, that and the Paiute peppermint, which is a whole other story. So your comments are very welcome. You can comment on the blog, as I've said, at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com, or you can comment on our group on Ravelry. And we had a few good comments this week, and that leads me into the warm thanks department. First of all, Knitting Hiker, so nice to hear from you. And I'm delighted that you like the Retired Assassins series. I just am finishing the second book. I'm reading it. I think it's the Retired Assassin's Guide to Orchids or something. It's just as delightful as the first one. And it also gave me, at the end, what I wanted most, which I didn't expect. And I'm very pleased. I felt there was a pairing of people in the first novel that was a little bit trite, like a kind of common trope. And I kept thinking, this writer is so authentic and original. I hope she's not going to fall for that one. Apparently she didn't. I'm sitting here drinking keto hot cocoa. In case you're wondering, I can talk about that a little bit later. I want to also thank Chris who, as always, was talking about joining us at one of the CFRs. Chris, it would be so wonderful, and I would love to bring CFR to Australia and have it there and just have all you folks around to see how you like it. Because I know you're much more enthusiastic crafters than the Americans. So I would get such a thrill out of having CFR Sydney or something, or Melbourne. But thank you. I did enjoy your post. Your kids, of course, are beautiful. I want to adopt them both. I'm not going to get that. And also in Australia, apart from terrific parents, they get socialized medicine. Just saying. Can't in good justice steal them or adopt them because of that difference. Oh, our own lefty rebel knitter, Karen. I put up the thread for CFR 12 and I locked it. That is the information thread. Do you know our own Karen Lefty Rebel actually managed to pay me anyway to register for November? I do adore you. Honestly, I do. Deviant Stitch. Yes, I know you're a long-term listener. What I wasn't getting is where you're living. Deviant Stitch is suggesting that we all contribute to Denmark's attempt to buy California. Deviant Stitch points out that if we all contribute to this and Denmark buys California from Donald Trump, then we could have all the benefits of Denmarkification. The link is in the show notes. It is wonderful. If it was real, I swear I would contribute to it. Who doesn't want, I don't know how you pronounce this, Huga? Huya? Who would not want that, not to mention, good university education and socialized medicine. And then there's Sustainable Living, who's got her room for CFR 12. Thank you. So good, Marianne, to know that you are planning on coming. We did miss you. We missed so many people who weren't there. And of course, I want to thank all my listeners as always, and I want to thank my communities in this group, obviously, on Finch, on Reddit, and on the ground in real time in the SCV and the AV. You can see a picture of my birds. They're still trapped in Wonderland because there's some glitch in the program that they can't resolve it. So they're just there wearing their bunny suits, hopping around there together by the mushrooms. They met the Red Queen. They're very happy about that. Yay! Cognitive Fiber Retreat 12. I did the information thread. All the information is right here, as it says in the show notes. If you follow that link, it will take you to the CFR 12 link. This is scheduled for November 7th, 2026. It will be in the same venue, the Marriott Courtyard in Valencia, right off the 5 to make it as easy as humanly possible to find us. I'm so looking forward to it. It's only February, and now I have something to live for in November. At CFR 12, we will be talking about having a 12.5, where, when, and how we want to do that. I think we probably felt that doing it in February was a little too early, as I think I said last time. So we may move that further into the spring, just to give everybody a chance not to show up with a flu or a cold. At any rate, CFR 12 is November 7th. Mark your calendars, and remember, this is a developing thread, so you should check back often. Registration. I really wasn't going to start the sign-ups till September 1st, 2026. It costs $10. Do I care? If you sign up now and send me $10, do I care? I don't care. I'm not bothered. So do what you want to do. You know all the drill. Loretta 1031 still has a wonderful message about how to donate to her crocheting club for school kids. Any extras in the yarn department will be going to Jasmine Knitmore for her groups up north. Hooey, what's on my hooks and needles? You may be wondering. Well, I'm wearing this as I speak, and I'm a happy camper. I finished my Romule 2025. This is the Strange Brew, using primarily the Cocoa colorway from Malabrigo Rios. Along the neckline, the very bottom row of leaves is Malabrigo Rios in Sunset. The next row is Ali B, and I cannot remember the name of the color, but you can see it if you follow the show notes. It's a beautiful orange with just a slightly pink undertone, which I did not see on the skein, but when you knit it up, you get just a hint, and it's nice because it's not overwhelmingly pink. So you look like you have two separate colors of falling autumn leaves. And then above that is Cascade 220 Superwash in the colorway Cream Puff. Strange Brew, of course, is a pattern by Tin Can Knits. You can buy it on Ravelry. I highly recommend it if you decide you want to make your own Fair Isle with your own design of yoke. And those motifs, you may ask, those are from the incredible Pacific Knits by Jamie Lomax, her incredible patterns, the Doodle Knits. It's true. I'm addicted to collecting them. I will probably never make all the ones I've collected, but oh my gosh, it's like Pokemon cards for knitters, as I think our own Jedi Mom Stacy and Caitlin Drew would say. So there's a picture of me, and as you can see, I'm wearing the infamous Foxen skirt. This is a fabric I could not put down. I bought it at Joann's long before they were going out of business. And it has this mommy and baby fox graphic. They're curled up together and all around it. are all these leaves and brushes, and the background is really either an extremely dark green or a black. And I fell in love with that fabric, said, what will I ever wear this with? That didn't stop me. It's flannel. I made a full circle skirt out of it, which I'm wearing in that picture. I have to tell you, when I started getting up to the neckline on this, the yoke, on this Cocoa Strange Brew, I suddenly realized it was going to go with the Foxen skirt. It looks like they were consciously planned to be together. No, but aren't they a great combination? So you can see the picture in the show notes. And there's also a closer picture so you can see the motifs a little better. I am so happy with this sweater. It defies description. How about all those ends, Gemma? Yeah, I actually finished this a few days ago, about a week ago now, I think. And I did not put it on, and I did not wash it. What I did was I went back, and the next day I grafted one underarm seam. The next day after that I grafted the second underarm seam. And then I went in every day after that and wove in 5 ends. And there really aren't that many ends here. It sounds like I have a lot more ends than you would think. But a yoke, you know, there's probably, I don't know, more ends than you expect because you're changing colors and all that. Very, very easy to do. So do not get into the whole thing people get into. I'm going to finish this, but I hate weaving in ends, or I hate grafting underarms. Seriously, the underarms are 13 stitches on each side. So you're doing a Kitchener for 13 set pairs of stitches. It takes fewer than 5 minutes. Okay, and weaving in 5 ends and just keeping an eye on the front to make sure your ends aren't coming through the work on the front. So easy. So please don't let the ends and the grafting stop you. For heaven's sake, if you can make a sock, particularly if you can make a striped sock, you can certainly make this pattern. And I have to tell you, playing with the doodle knit stuff is so much fun. I was talking to Jasmine Knitmore this week, and I will talk about that in a minute. And I said something about, well, very guiltily, you know, I've been, well, kind of shamelessly buying them. And she said, I've got them all. And I just cracked up. And as I think Jedi Mom said to me, well, it's better than using cocaine, isn't it? Yes, it is. I fear that for the rest of my life, every project I do will be Fair Isle. Oh, darn. In progress. Well, the stash toss. I am working, you may remember, on an Agnes sweater in yarn from Oink Pigments. The yarn colorway being Prawn, but not forgotten. And I will fall a little short, so I am blending with it another of her colorways, Ovary Action. Okay, and I looked at that and said, it really is time to use up the other big bulky in my stash, which is from the indie dyer Onyx, who no longer dyes as far as I know. And it's the most beautiful color. It's cream, and it's speckled with different browns. And I was rather silly. I didn't order enough for the full sweater. So I've got 4 skeins that have been rotting in my stash for several years. Every time we do a CFR, I think about giving them away. No. I finally broke down. And when I was at CFR 11.5, I bought, I think, 3 skeins, again from Oink, of a colorway, I think it's called Truffle. It's that grayish brown. And said that would be great for the bottom hem of the sweater. And so I went to Knit Picks, and I looked at their bulky yarns, and I got a skein of Swish and a skein of Wool of the Andes Superwash. And so now I have this cinnamony lighter brown and a slightly darker cinnamony brown, a medium shade, to go between that lighter one and the Truffle. So I am looking at this sweater and thinking, when I get to that one, this is going to be a 3 needle special. You know, where you're working your way down the body and you separate from the arms. And then you realize if you want everything to be even, you're going to have to run needles into those stitches on the underarms. And you're going to have to do the sleeves while you're doing the body to make sure that all your color shifts are lining up. And I think I'm going to do this as a fade. It'll be slightly clunky because these are big stitches. It won't be as smooth as a fade in something like a sock yarn. I can't wait to do this. So I think at this point I've got 9 skeins, and that should be enough to finish an Agnes with the yardage I've got. So I'm very excited about that one, but that is down the road. But that does remind me to tell you, I have got Prawn but Not Forgotten, and I'm very well on my way down the body. I think I've got about 4 more inches of stockinette, and in bulky yarn that's pretty quick. That's only 4 rows. And then I think I've got 2 inches of the ribbing at the bottom. So this is going very nicely. Then it will be on to the sleeves. Meanwhile, I went back to my socks, and there's the Dizzy Laser sock number 1 finished. I got to finish it on the train this weekend. And again, the brown is from Dizzy Blonde Yarns. The golden orange is from Laser Sheep. I just love these. I have 2 skeins, so I'm going to move on to the next sock as soon as I can sit down and cast it on. And then the next pair that I make from these 2 skeins will be the reverse of this. It will be brown body, golden highlights, the toe, the cuff, the heel. And with what I have left, I will do a stripe. And if I don't have enough to get down to the feet of both socks, I will just use a more inexpensive yarn to do the instep and toe, because that'll be hidden in my clogs anyway. So I'm having a really good time with that. The Coral Strange Brew, I'm on the body, I've got the arms completed, and I'm probably about 10 or 11 inches into the body out of, I hope, 18 to 19. So that one's booking right along quietly in the background when I get a few spare seconds. None of the other projects are much being worked on, but there we go. And hopefully when I get the socks and the Agnes done, that's going to take a good 8 or 9 skeins out of my stash toss count. So that will be very, very nice. Meanwhile, no quilting and no spinning. So let's get on to a strategy. And the strategy is for those of us with hot tempers. And I was reminded of this because a patient did something that really annoyed me. And I realized that that's always a good cue to review anger management. And it also prompts me, hey, you could talk about this in the podcast. Now, what I want to use is a strategy that we use for ADHD patients. And I notice that it is more and more relevant, particularly when we have social media. And that is snap. Yes, the word snap your fingers, snap. It stands for stop now and plan. So I was on social media and I was reading, someone asked a question, why do you think this? It was a political question. And I came back with the research. I said the research shows the following. It's cognitive behavioral, in fact, in its nature. And that's all I said. Well, I got called all sorts of words by the other side. And, I was going to write back, and then I thought, snap. Stop now. What do I want to have happen here? I really just want to ignore these people. I used the research. I qualify to some extent as an expert on this because I have a career in psychology, and I know the research, as opposed to people just calling me insults and sneering and saying I was wrong. But, I suddenly realized I teach snap. I should use snap. But snap itself, stop now and plan, it's an easy thing to remember because you can snap your fingers. Don't do things in the snap of a finger. Instead, you stop now and plan. But also, when you're going to use snap, the problem most people have with using it is now that we're not going to have an explosive blow up, what do we do? And I think when we train people in anger management, this is often skipped, where we're telling people, just stop, just walk away. Okay, fine. But when you do that, you're still angry. You still have to manage that. You have big feelings, and you've got to do something about it. So one of the background assumptions with snap that I would highly recommend you pay attention to is that you actually have a plan that will help you manage your anger and your painful thoughts. So when I was looking at this stuff on Reddit where, this person was saying mean things, I suddenly realized I can delete those comments. Now, I can't delete them on the Reddit thread. They're there forever, good, because to me that's people exposing themselves as idiots. What do I care? But I can go into my collection of notifications and just delete them. I don't even have to read them. So that's what I did. I just went through, and if I saw, there was a response to this one thread, I just took it out. So I don't care anymore. I said what I went there to say. So I had that plan so that I didn't have to be angry. When my patient annoyed me, I went and worked on a jigsaw puzzle that my husband gave me for Valentine's Day. Yes, when I do that, my brain is miraculously emptied. I like jigsaw puzzles because they force me to focus. It's very much a thought-stopping strategy for me. And I'm beginning to realize how important that's become to me, how much I feel addicted to these things, because I get this meditative peace in my head. And of course it is meditation. You're excluding all else to focus on one thing. That is meditation. In some sense, that's also hypnosis. So what's important here? You have to make that anger plan now. What do I do so that when I use the SNAP strategy, I can manage my painful feelings? In other words, not only do I stop myself in anger from making everything worse by an impulsive action, I'm also going to go take care of myself to resolve the painful feelings that I have from my anger. So I've just given some strategies: meditate, do a puzzle, walk away, but walk and know where you're going. Know where you're going will make you feel better. So walk to your dining room table if you're me and work on that puzzle. But there's other things you can do. Take deep breaths. Think of an activity that will change your mind like the puzzle does mine. Knit. Do soothing activities. One of my all-time favorites is the Epsom salt bubble bath, where I put Japanese bath salts. They don't really bubble, but they smell great, and they soften the water. And I put those, and I put Epsom salt in a bathtub. And then I lie in there, and I may read a novel on my Kindle. Whatever. But if you're going to manage your anger, you not only need to manage it in that first moment, and that management is SNAP, stop, now, and plan. But you need to actually have that plan so that after you've stopped yourself from making the situation worse by doing something you will regret, you have to know what to do to bring yourself back to level from that angry place, from those big angry feelings. And there's so many ways to do it. Accepts, that acronym is one. Improve the acronym, there's another bunch of them. Walk away. Plan when you can get together to solve the argument, if there is one, with another person, but walk away, and then self-soothe. Here's what people do wrong. They walk away angry, and then they just keep obsessively thinking about why they're angry and how they're going to manage it. Don't do that. Walk away. Use SNAP to walk away, and then go activate one of your anger self-soothing plans. And you make those plans when you're not angry. You do things like start your sweater, get a jigsaw puzzle, get a good novel from the library or from a bookstore, get your running clothes ready to go in case you're going to need to take a good hard run. Get your bath salts ready in case you need that bubble bath or Epsom salt bath. Make your plan and prep before you're trapped in the situation. Oh, shoot. I keep telling you bits of my week. On Saturday, which was Valentine's Day, I might add, I actually walked 6 miles in Los Angeles. We all went down, my husband, my sister-in-law, myself, my son, and we decided we would go to the La Brea Tar Pits. And we walked from there to the Grove, which is actually about 1.1 miles. And we had lunch there at Cheesecake Factory. And then we walked back and saw the tar pits. I did not have enough sleep the night before, so I was passing out by the time we got back from the tar pits. But that was also about 5 miles into our 6-mile day. So I did get in some good mileage in LA. In the meantime, on March 1st, I have a race coming up. I'm a little worried about that because I'm not really practicing because we're having unbelievably rocky weather this week. Windstorms, rainstorms, thunderstorms, and we keep having Santa Ana winds, which no fun to run it. We'll see how I do. If nothing else, I'll go out and walk it. Anything for a shirt, kids. In the fluffy books, I finished another Japanese healing novel. This is The Healing Hippo of Hinodi Park. You're not going to remember that, but fortunately there are links in the show notes to everything I'm talking about. This is a book written by the same author who wrote What You Are Looking For Is in the Library, a book which I just adored. The Healing Hippo, not as much. It's good, though. It's not as good for me. But in the last story, you get the sort of wind-up that's extremely satisfying. And again, the author creates this community of people who unknowingly are tied together by one specific thing that helps them solve their problems. It's a very interesting book, and I liked it. I also started the Kamigawa Food Detectives. Now, this so far is a 3-book series. The 4th book is due out fairly soon. I have pre-ordered it. And they're all about the Kamigawa Food Detectives, father and daughter. And I've talked about this before. And I read them, I think I read the 2nd book, then the 3rd book, then this is the 1st book. It doesn't matter what order you read them in. It is interesting reading them out of order because you get to see the way the two central characters, the father and the daughter Kamigawa, have developed through the books. I really like this series. I can't explain it. Each story follows a formula, but it's just very sweet and very loving. What I really like about it is nobody is the enemy. That when you read American books and somebody has a problem, often the story is set up in terms of, well, I have this problem because this person was mean to me. And they're going to get their comeuppance or whatever. I really like this series because people come in because they have disturbing events in their lives, and then they find out that they've kind of villainized people a little too much. It's a fairly frequent theme in the stories that the people you think were not good enough to you actually do love you, and maybe you've been a little too dramatic and need to sort of back it up, or maybe there are some facts of which you were not aware, and maybe you need to reconsider the situation. I like the fact that there's a huge emphasis in all these Japanese novels on community and on the idea that we don't just throw people away, we accept them as they are, and we set limits on ourselves and on them based on everybody's behaviors. So I have to say I'm really quite enjoying this series, and I'm looking forward to the 4th book, which I think is called Recipe of Hope. They're just very sweet, and I would say the same about Healing Hippo as well, that it's about that community. It's about how people in a community have common bonds that they may not even be aware of. It's been a good year for the fluffy books, and we're only in February. Something I really like, Kalon mouthwash pills. Yes, I was appalled by the amount of bacteria in my mouth when I went to the dentist back in early December. I say this because I'm going to go back in early March. And one of the things she did was a spit test. I found out I have this huge amount of bacteria in my mouth. Now, a lot of that was because I had so much plaque buildup. And getting rid of the plaque should help that. It certainly changed my gums. They are feeling great, and they're no longer swollen, and it's just so much better. But I thought, what about that plaque? And what about that bacteria? And of course, these things are related to heart disease. So I thought I really want to get on this a little more. So I went Googling mouth bacteria. And this led me to a few things. One is now every Saturday morning, I brush my teeth with baking soda. I was warned only to do that once a week because it is kind of abrasive to your enamel. However, it makes a big difference. So the other thing I was looking at was mouthwash. Now, my problem with mouthwash is you buy a bottle of mouthwash, big plastic bottle, not good for the environment, mostly water, so you're paying for water, and you swish this stuff in your mouth. So I went back to something I'd tried before, which is the pills you can use, the little tablets that you crunch them in your teeth and then you swish them around, and that will make the liquid. And they come in these little tiny biodegradable canisters. You get one metal-based jar, and then after that all your refills are in biodegradable paper. And you just pour them out of your little paper envelope into your little jar. So it drastically reduces the environmental waste. But also, these things are great. I have one container on my desk here as I record. And I have another container. I used an old jam jar. And that's all my refills for 6 months, because that's the way I ordered it. And that's sitting in my bathroom. So every now and then I just pop one in my mouth and I will suck on it a little bit, and I will eventually break it down between my front teeth because I don't want to get it stuck in the crevices of my molars, and spend the next hour trying to scrape that out. But anyway, it is remarkable. It is just a little freshness break for my mouth every so often. And of course I swish it around and I may swallow it or I may spit it out. It doesn't really matter. Now I chose to get it without fluoride. I'm not sure why, but I got the mint flavor, and as they say on the label, crunch, brush, smile. And let's see what's in it. Calcium carbonate, hydroxyapatite, I have no idea what that is, colloidal silicon dioxide, xanthan gum, that's actually a keto cooking ingredient, magnesium stearate, mint extract, sodium bicarbonate, xylitol, zinc citrate, erythritol. Okay, a little bit of chemistry that I don't know there, but on the whole, okay. I really like these things. It's just a little break I give myself sometimes between patients. It's like a little treat. And I think the way I ordered them to get the maximal price, you order the 6-month supply, that's great. I won't be getting these for a long, long time. They're going very slowly, but I'm enjoying them. These are the Kaylan, that's Kaylaan mouthwash pills. And better yet, my bundle of ice resistance patterns. You can find those. They're on Ravelry, and there is a link to them in the show notes. Please also consider donating to the people impacted by ice, specifically the immigrants in Minnesota. And I have 2 links where you can do that right in the show notes. And also a link to Crafters Helping Minnesota. Meanwhile, the back episodes on Proton, episodes 151 to 200 of the new series, are available. That link isn't really changing even when I change the episodes, because they're in the same place on my Proton drive. Put a lid on it. I mentioned keto hot chocolate. I did not mean to give you that recipe. It's very simple. I put a half teaspoon of cocoa powder, non-sugar cocoa powder, just baking cocoa, and a splash of a sugar-free vanilla syrup, and about 2 tablespoons of chocolate peanut butter keto chow. I put that all in a cup. I fill it 2/3 of the way with hot water. I put my little favorite hand frother in it to mix everything up. And then I fill the rest of the cup with heavy cream. But what I really want to give you is Sardines 101. Because I was making sardines, as I do so love to do, and they're very good for you if you're in keto. And I'm using Hero bread, which is a low-carb bread. I don't eat a lot of this stuff, but it works. Now, when you do sardines, the important thing is you must have Earl Grey tea with cream and sweetener. And you must toast your bread. If you're feeling fancy, you can butter the toasted bread. All right, so there's an order in which you do this so that your sardines work out well. And it goes like this. You turn on the kettle, full of water, one hopes, for tea. You prep your Earl Grey tea leaves in the cup, whether you use a tea bag or you use a strainer. Then you put bread in the toaster. Then you open the can of sardines. And you put the sardines into a bowl and mash them with a fork. At this point, your kettle boils, so you're going to pour your water to steep the tea. Meanwhile, back at the sardines, you add white wine vinegar and pink salt to the sardines in the bowl, and you mash it all together. At this point, your toast will emerge. So you put the fish mashed up onto the toast, and you take the tea ball or the tea bag out of the tea and add the cream. You have to do it in this order. This means everything arrives at the table at the same time. You heard it here first. If you do this in any other order, things come to the table in all messed up condition. Your toast gets soggy from the white vinegar. Your tea gets cold, blah, blah, blah. Got to do it this way. On to the blather. Well, Saturday, Valentine's Day, the boys and I exchanged our Valentines. I'm happy to say I got a 1,000-piece Moomin puzzle. I'm probably about a quarter of the way through it right now. I love these puzzles because, as I said previously, they're amazing at thought stopping. When I work on a puzzle, I lose myself in the puzzle. And it's really monotonous stuff. And so is knitting, did I mention? And I can lose myself in my knitting. After we celebrated, we met my sister-in-law at the train station up in Acton. And we all rode down, my husband, my son, my sister-in-law, and I, to LA. On the train, I got beaucoup sock knitting done, which made me very, very happy. And we ended up at the tar pits and decided we should walk over to the Cheesecake Factory, where we pigged out helplessly. Amazingly, we got in. It was very crowded because of the Valentine's holiday. Then we backtracked to the La Brea tar pits. And I did not realize when you get off the subway at Western and Wilshire, you're a ways down from the tar pits. You're on the right road. You're on Wilshire. So we took a bus, and when we got off and we walked away from the tar pits, we were next to the Museum of Modern Art. We saw all sorts of wonderful things. So there's a picture there of this boulder that's one of the exhibits outside, and you can walk down under it and you can see people doing exactly that. And also the street lamps exhibit. Unfortunately, they were not turned on and they had some construction stuff in front of it, but you can get the idea. We had a lovely day. We got home extremely late, probably about 9-ish, 9:30. I think we all just passed out, and it was wonderful. I am sad to say my wonderful sister, alias sister-in-law, she left Monday morning. We all went over to where her trailer was parked to say goodbye and get hugs and meet her pets. So as I record this, she's off, I think in Pahrump, Nevada. But Sunday, knowing I was going to bid farewell to one sister, I decided to call another. And so I had a day of rest and a day of working on my puzzle, and I called Jasmine and Gigi Knitmore. I should say sisters, even if they're multi-generational. I ended up talking to Jasmine because Gigi was in bed. And the inevitable question, how is Gigi doing? I guess right now she's in a decline. She broke her pelvic bone, as Jasmine told everybody, I think in her live broadcast. And, you know, that's hard to come back from. So all I can say is rub the prayer beads, or however you do this sort of thing. So we're all kind of crossing our fingers for Gigi. It was so good to talk to Jasmine. I cannot tell you. And yes, I found out Jasmine is an even bigger junkie for the Doodle Knits cards. And I mean the physical ones, not the digital patterns. She is an even bigger junkie than I am, and possibly even bigger than Jedi Mom Stacy is. In the meantime, you know, they're living their lives up there. The kids are doing fine. Now look, Jasmine is a very verbal, articulate person, as is Gigi. So are the kids. So the multi-generational nature of the Knitmores is still something to celebrate. It just gets better by the year. And, well, I missed you girls so much. And I said with some poignance to Jasmine, I listen over and over again to the last episode they broadcast. A Political Old Lady, I think is what it's called. And it's so relevant that's what breaks my heart and makes me happy all at once. That they're talking about how you have to stay active in your politics. That America is, at its best, driven by the politics of its people, as was intended, a nation by the people, for the people. It's a wonderful episode. It's an extremely wonderful legacy, and my sisters to the north, you Knitmore girls, I love you and I miss you. And in the meantime, you can see all the links for the LGBTQIA stuff, for the immigrants trying to stay alert to ICE, and for those of us trying to avoid ICE, I might add. You can find between those things links for the resources that we can share as a Yarny community. I do need to update them, I have to admit this. And you can also see my calendar of upcoming events. Last but not least on it is CFR 12 on November 7th, 2026. Minerva gets the last word. Minerva is hunting the T words. There is a picture. I'm going to look around. Is she in here? Yes. Oh, she's on the window ledge. I'm going to live to regret this. All right. Minerva now knows what TREATS means, as I think I've told you. And she is desperately trying to train me to give them to her more often. She has a specific cry that means she wants the goodies. And you can see a picture there. She found the goodies in my big bedroom in the knitting nook. And she hunts them now. She drags them out wherever I hide them. She knocks them over if they're sitting on the blanket chest or on my chair somewhere. And you can see her there. She's trying to chew her way in right there to one of the bags. Minerva is no fool, to put it mildly. She's probably the brightest cat I've ever had in her own wonderful, crazy feline way. And Minerva knows that everybody does better with rewards. That when we raise our children, we have known for almost 50 years as psychologists, the most successful approach to get kids to do what you want is rewards. But hey guys, that's the most successful approach to get any breathing mammal, and there's some evidence, cold-blooded animals as well, to do what you want, is to make sure they understand the rewards at the end of the path. And if you read Freud, yes, this is in Freud. It's a short book, by the way, I recommend it. Civilization and Its Discontents. Try to get around that idiotic footnote about the role of women in keeping the fire alive. Nonetheless, Civilization and Its Discontents is a really wonderful essay about what we get out of being in community. And Freud sees it as a tension. That he's talking about men because he's Freud. He's always talking about men. Women, we're not that big a deal, but I think he's still right. That people join in community, and when they do that, they have to suppress some of their own desires in order to cooperate to get bigger rewards than they can get on their own. And so the whole purpose of being in community, as Minerva can tell you, is to get to the rewards. And we get the rewards by doing the things we need to do to support the community. And Minerva sees it as a very singular solipsistic thing. She just wants the TREATSs. But when Minerva is behaving in a good way to earn those, we all benefit here in our crazy, happy, cognitive household. So remember, kids, even the cat has learned when we work for the good of the community, we are working for the success and good of the individual. And that's why we should give to the Denmark Fund to buy California from America. I think the Danes have got that down, and I'd like to join them. Having said all of this, everybody stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.